and welcome back to the channel. We are officially 7 days into the 2026 FIFA World Cup, which means we have a full week of these recaps done. I just want to thank everybody for the support so far on the videos, and I'm going to try and keep as consistent as possible to try and get to the end of the tournament. So without further ado, this is the World Cup recap. The first game of the day was between Portugal and the Dominican Republic of Congo, which finished 1-1. João Neves of Paris Saint-Germain put Portugal ahead with a lovely header inside 6 minutes, but they never really gathered any sort of momentum after that, and they never pushed on and could not get their second goal. Dominican Republic of Congo would equalise through Newcastle striker Yoane Wissa as they managed to hold on and secure a famous point against a team that a lot of people have as their tournament favourites. When you properly think about it, they had 7 shots in 75% of possession in the game, Portugal, and realistically that is an absolutely terrible performance. You think with 75% possession you'd manage at least 10 shots and a few more shots on target, but it was a very poor performance from Portugal. I think there's been a lot of kind of blurred lines, I suppose, about Portugal going into this World Cup. Roberto Martinez has he stepped down before they even kicked the ball, which was a very odd move, to be totally honest with you. And obviously everything to do like Cristiano Ronaldo. There was one instance last night that he could have let the ball roll for Bruno Fernandes, but he went on to take on the shot himself. I saw Thierry Henry saying that your team needs to score and not you. And I think Messi's performance yesterday has probably gotten his head a bit, and he probably felt like that he needed to step up himself, which he couldn't do, and it actually ended up costing his country. So that was an unfortunate draw there for Portugal, but an unbelievable point for the Dominican Republic of Congo. Then the second game of the day was a 4-2 win for England against Croatia. It was a very entertaining game as England managed to set their World Cup campaign alight. Croatia wouldn't actually stay down for a while, answering a 1-0 deficit and then a 2-1 deficit, but they just eventually ran out of steam, and England went on to win the game 4-2. Although they were very good going forward, England, and looked like that they were going to create a goal scoring chance every time they actually did go forward, I think their defence is still very shaky. When you look at the players that are kind of in the squad for England, you wouldn't say it's a defence that'll win you a World Cup. No, Thomas Tuchel, of course, is a world-class manager, so he probably has his tactical logics and everything to go into that. But looking at it on paper, I still think that probably Harry Maguire probably would have been a better shout for him to bring to the World Cup. He's always played well for England since he first came in, I suppose around maybe 2017 or 2018. He's always been consistent for England. I think taking him out of the team was a very odd choice. So yeah, a couple of odd enough choices in squad selection, and I do think that the defence is going to cost them later on in the tournament. With his 2 goals against Croatia last night, Harry Kane is currently on 63 goals for the 25-26 season. An absolutely outstanding footballer, and I think if England do win this World Cup, it's going to be down to him. One thing that I don't understand is how he isn't in the Ballon d'Or conversation a bit more. You were always kind of talking about, the PSG players won the Champions League. It probably will go to maybe like Ousmane Dembele again if they win if France win the World Cup, or if they get to the final. It usually just goes to the person to a team who wins the Champions League, which is a bit odd. I think it should go to the best performing player of every year, which it probably did back in the day, but we've rarely kind of seen that recently. And I do think that Harry Kane should be given his flowers. I think for the age that he's at now, I think a lot of people thought that when he was going to Bayern Munich that he was going to kind of slowly dwindle in his career, kind of in a downward spiral, but he's even kicked on and he looks even more of a player than he was at Spurs. So I think Ballon d'Or shouts for Harry Kane are definitely in the pipeline. Then the third game of the day was between Ghana and Panama, which finished in a 1-0 smash and grab win for Ghana. Panama were looking to win their first World Cup game on the 4th time of asking, but as I said, the Ghana smash and grab was enough for them in the end to secure all 3 points. Panama were probably the better team overall in terms of the game, but they kind of ran out of steam a bit late on, and Ghana kind of pushed on and created some brilliant chances in the last few minutes of the game to create the goal, I suppose, that actually won it for them. Caleb Yirenkyi managed to get the winner for Ghana in virtually the last kick of the game, but Panama nearly did have a very, very late on equaliser, but Ghana managed to hold out and secure the 3 points for them. They've had, overall, at World Cups, Ghana always play somewhat well. If you think back to 2010 getting to the World Cup quarter-final and very unlucky not to get to the semi-final of that competition, Ghana are always kind of there or thereabouts. They definitely wouldn't be a dark horse team, but they always managed to put in a decent performance here and there at the World Cup. So that was a great performance for Ghana against Panama. Then the fourth and final game of day 7 of the World Cup saw Uzbekistan lose 3-1 to Colombia. It was a total performance of domination from Colombia as they rounded off day 7 of the World Cup. Díaz was continuing his club form for Bayern Munich and bringing it into the World Cup. He got an assist for Crystal Palace defender Daniel Muñoz for the first goal and managed to grab himself the second goal for Colombia in that game. An absolutely brilliant player, Díaz, who's really kicked on since joining Bayern Munich last summer. Uzbekistan found an equaliser on the hour mark, and we actually all thought that there might be a bit of a shock on the cards, but Colombia never fretted and played their own game and managed to finish up with a 3-1 win. Campaz managed to get the third goal for Colombia in, I think, the 99th minute or something. The scenes from the Colombian fans were absolutely unbelievable. I think going back even to the 2014 World Cup when Colombia really kind of introduced themselves on the international stage, they were their fans would always bring some atmosphere, and they did so yesterday in America as Colombia managed to get off the mark with 3 points in the 2026 FIFA World Cup. So coming up tonight and say tomorrow morning Irish time, you've 4 games that there isn't any massive kind of world-breaking games there. I think there's 1 or 2 that could be very interesting, but Czechia are playing South Africa, Switzerland are playing Bosnia and Herzegovina, Canada play Qatar, and Mexico play South Korea, which is the latest game of the day and probably will be the game that everybody would have wanted to actually see. So it would have been nice maybe if that kicked off the day. Yeah, look, Czechia, I think, have a point and South Africa have 0, so that'll be a tight game, to be fair. Same with Switzerland and Bosnia, they're both on a point. Canada and Qatar. Canada will want to finally, I suppose, properly introduce themselves in the World Cup. Another 2 teams, I think, that both have a point going into the second game, and Mexico and South Korea. Another 2 teams who have 3 points. So that, like I said, that should have been that it would have been better if that game was on a bit earlier in the day, and will more than likely be an absolute cracker. So they are the 4th games which are on day 8 of the World Cup. As I said, no massive world-beating game there to watch, but we're going to watch them all the same. Until the next episode of the World Cup recap, if you could like, subscribe and share the channel with someone who you think would enjoy these videos, I would really much appreciate it. And until next time, I'll talk to you later.